You're listening to Big World Network.
Delroy Versus the Yshtari, Season 2, Episode 10, Salesman of the Century, written and read by Baron Stevens. I studied the battle scene on the monitor in front of me. It would only be a matter of minutes before the Earth fleet was wiped out. Once the Ulysses went down, the smaller Earth ships wouldn't stand a chance. "Sir, what should we do?" the crew member asked me. "Should we get out of here?" I knew we should, but I couldn't bring myself to abandon Stella and the others. "Uh-oh," James said, pointing at the royal ship. "That big one is turning toward us." "At least that will buy the Ulysses a little more time. Does this thing have any weapons?" I asked the crewman. "It's a cruise ship. We don't have any weapons other than the small arms and the asteroid sweepers." "Can we use the asteroid sweepers to do anything against that royal ship?" I asked, though I pretty much already knew the answer. The crew member shook his head. I couldn't believe we'd come all this way only to get recaptured again. There had to be something we could do. I stuck my hands in my pockets as I tried to think. And then it hit me. "Are there any shuttles on board?" "No," the crewman said. "All we have are some life pods, but most of them were ejected the first time we were boarded." "Are there any left?" The crew member looked at the panel in front of him. 3 on the starboard side. Not enough to hold all of us. "I only need one to hold me and Minx. Come on, buddy." Minx looked at me and frowned. "You want to run away and abandon ship?" "No." I pointed at the front view screen, which was now filled with the giant royal ship. "I'm going to surrender to them in order for this ship to escape." Minx moaned. I turned to the crewman. "Once I'm clear, hightail it out of here as fast as you can. See if you can contact the Ulysses, too. If everything works out, you should be able to return to the Ulysses and help them out." The crewman saluted. I returned it. "What do you intend to do?" Minx asked. "Come with me," I ordered as I ran off the bridge and toward the starboard life pods. Minx and James followed. On the way, I stopped by one of the tanning rooms that most cruise ships had so that the passengers could look like they'd spent their vacation at the beach. I went up to one of the tanning lights hanging on the wall and ripped it down. I wrapped the power cord around it and then picked up a potted plant. "What are you doing?" Minx asked. "Since scams aren't working out, have you decided to go into theft and vandalism?" "Shut up," I snapped as I left the room and continued to the pod. When we reached it, James said, "I'm going with you." "No, James, you stay here. This will be your best chance to see Trina again. It will most likely be a one-way mission." I put the light fixture and the plant into the pod. "Can I stay too?" Minx asked. "No, I'm going to need your translation skills. Besides, you could always resume your job as the head chef if this fails." We reached the first available pod and stopped. I said to James, "I wish you and Trina a long life with lots of kids. If I don't make it back, tell Stella I love her." James clasped my arm. "I'll do that, my friend. Thank you. You are a true hero." "Yeah, right," Minx muttered as I let go of James and entered the pod. Once I sat in the pilot seat, I closed the airlock doors and launched the pod into space. I steered a path straight toward the giant ship. I said into the radio, "Yshtari Royal Ship, this is Delroy Higston. I wish to surrender and offer you a proposal that will change your entire society for the better. I ask that you cease all hostilities toward the human ships until you've heard me out." "What do you have in mind?" Minx asked. I said to him, "If I told you now, it would spoil the surprise." "You have to be one of the most annoying humans I've ever worked with." He stopped to think for a second. "After further review, you are the worst." "Thank you." I looked up and saw that the fighting had not stopped. "Why are they still shooting?" "You thought they would stop fighting because you asked?" Instead of answering him, I said into the radio, "Yshtari Fleet, my proposal will save lives and expenses, but you must stop destroying our ships or the deal's off." The fighting continued. "They're not listening to me." "Duh! Let me try, dork." I handed Minx the headset. He put it on and went into a series of complicated clicks. A few seconds later, the fighting stopped. "What did you say to them?" I asked. "I said what you said, but I used their terminology for it. Plus, I told them that there is an added bonus that they can turn you into Delroy jerky when they are done. You didn't. For an answer, he gave me that obnoxious smile of his. I should have left you behind on the planet. But you would have missed me. By now, the Yshtari ship loomed over us. The section of the ship that I'd blasted looked pretty bad, but evidently I hadn't done enough damage to keep it out of the battle. Doors slid open along its side, and a set of giant metal claws reached out and grabbed our pod. It dragged us inside the royal ship, and the doors closed behind us. Once I saw that the air levels were safe, I popped the hatch and jumped out with Minx close behind. A large contingent of red-brown shelled Yshtari rushed into the room, all armed with crossbow rifles. I put my hands up and said, "I am unarmed," Minx translated, "but I have a gift for you. I'll share with you a great cosmic secret if you don't kill me." A yellow shell strolled forward holding an orb. "Explain," it said. "Take me to your queen. I'll explain it to her." The Yshtari's eye stalks regarded me for several seconds before it turned to two other yellow shells who had just joined it. They started clicking at each other. "What are they saying?" I asked Minx. "I don't think you want to know. Suffice it to say, they don't believe you." I reached back into the pod and pulled out the tanning light fixture. I unwrapped the cord and plugged it into Minx's side outlet, then held it up menacingly. "Okay, either take me to see your queen or I turn this on." "You're holding them up with a light fixture?" Minx whispered. The Yshtari turned around. "What?" sounded from the orb. "Don't force me to flip this switch," I said in my most menacing tone. I hoped it somehow survived Minx's translation. Minx asked, "Sir?" "Shush, just play along," I whispered through my teeth. Minx finished translating my message. The Yshtari yellow shells still stood there regarding me. I couldn't tell if my bluff was working or not, since they didn't have any facial expressions. I flipped the switch that turned the light on. "You have 5 seconds." Minx clicked something to the Yshtari that caused it to think for a moment before it clicked orders to the surrounding guards. To my surprise, they parted, opening a path for us to go through. "What did you say to it?" I whispered. "That you know of a secret colony where very large humans live, and you'll lead him and his friends there privately if they will let you talk to the queen." I nodded my approval. "Nice. I didn't know you could bribe that well." "I learned from the best." "Grab the potted plant and let's go." I switched off the light but held it close to me, ready to flip the switch and tan them to death if they tried anything. The 3 yellows led us through the ship's twisty corridors. The Yshtari guards formed up behind us and marched with their guns pointed at my back. At that moment, my plan didn't seem like such a great idea anymore, but I kept a brave front. Before entering the royal chamber, one of the yellow shells reached out a claw toward the tanning light. "Give." "It's not actually dangerous," I said. "It's just a light, but I need it for my demonstration. See?" I flipped the light back on. The Yshtari studied it for a moment before turning and opening the door, allowing us to enter the royal chamber. There, sitting on her throne, looking as beautiful as ever, sat the giant armored slug known as the Yshtari queen. The yellow shells scuttled ahead and clicked at her. Their eye stalks kept swinging between me and her. "What are they saying?" I asked Minx. "They aren't buying our story. Also, they think that you are the ugliest of all humans, and that you are no longer worthy of being consumed by them." "That sounds like good news to me." Minx shook his head. "So they'll feed you to their livestock instead." The large orb next to the queen's throne boomed. "Silence!" The clicking between the queen and the yellow shells continued. The ferocity of the clicking seemed to be a sign that things were not going well for me. After 5 minutes, a yellow shell stepped back and motioned us forward. Its orb said, "Explain." I put on my best acting face. Indeed, this was the biggest acting gig of my life, and I had to do it in front of an expressionless audience. "I don't trust their translators. Translate for me, Minx." "Okay, jerk." "Most exalted and royal queen of the noble race of Yshtari, I am here to inform you that you have been selling yourself short by pursuing the human race's food. Indeed, we have come a long way technologically, and your losses would be great. Is pursuit of food so important that you are willing to risk the lives of your honorable and brave people?" After Minx translated, her orb said, "Yes." "You mean you have no problem having your loyal citizens lose their lives for something as trivial as tasty food?" "Yes." Minx leaned over and whispered, "You need to remember that they eat their own dead. Wars just create more food." I grimaced. Since that tactic wasn't working, I tried another one. "What if I had something better for you? Something that would require almost no effort or risk on your part. Would that be worth ending this conflict?" The Queen's huge eye stalks bent toward me, steadying me from head to toe. I could feel sweat pouring down my back, but I carefully kept my fear off my face. "Explain." I reached into my pocket. "This."
This has been a presentation of Big World Network. Visit us on bigworldnetwork.com for more free weekly series, or follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for listening.
You're listening to Big World Network.